I think Doc Rivers does Damian a disservice to bring him out to pick and roll. You bring him up pick and roll, he gets trapped, he has to give the ball up. I want him to have the ball in the fourth quarter. And a lot of times, they call up the pick and roll, he gets double, he has to give the ball up. Let him go one-on-one, and then you spread the court.
We haven't seen a healthy Giannis in the playoffs in 3 years.
Yo, man.
But are they a contender?
No, they're not a contender. I think they could beat the Knicks. The Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics on a whole nother level.
That was Inside the NBA. As you obviously know, it was a segment that was done on March the 13th. I appreciated this conversation because oftentimes when you're hearing the playoffs coming up, you only hear about the first two teams in each conference and how they're doing. But I wanted to start off here in the East. Since the Boston Celtics are the reigning defending champions, you still got a team like the Milwaukee Bucks who are very much in the playoff picture with a former MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Remember him? It prompted Doc Rivers to say that Giannis Antetokounmpo is not getting enough credit for the season that he's having. Obviously, they got Damian Lillard. I'm a bit surprised the Knicks haven't got as much coverage as they do because they are in New York. But we'll get into that team as well and them and the Milwaukee Bucks. Let me start off with what Shaq had to say in regards to Damian Lillard needing the ball in his hands more. I always kind of thought the opposite. If you have Dame and Giannis and you run the pick and roll, it's almost impossible to stop, because if you double team Giannis, say Giannis is setting the pick and he rolls to the basket, you try to double team him, it leaves Dame open. Or if you roll with Giannis Antetokounmpo, whatever defender switched on him, it leaves Dame for a one-on-one situation when he has the ball in his hands. Let me show you what I mean. Brook Lopez presents to set a screen, but really it's a screen that Giannis sets that Dame's gonna use, who switches Gabe Vincent on him, but the defender who was guarding Brook Lopez originally backs off. It leaves him open for a three. As you see under the basket, Giannis has a huge mismatch with Gabe Vincent trying to guard him. That mismatch only occurred because of the pick and roll between him and Damian Lillard. I would have loved to see Dame just throw it down to him. I'm a little bit more old school. However, in this new style of NBA, the open three-point shot is what's gold. Here's another one with Dame as the ball handler and Giannis sets a screen. The same switch happens. Gabe Vincent is on him. But the Milwaukee Bucks are not looking for that mismatch. With Giannis 7 foot and Gabe Vincent guarding him, you gotta throw it down low. Kyle Kuzma makes a great play to get a basket off the rebound, but the game is so much easier if you could find the simple, effective basket. On this play, the same thing again. Giannis sets a screen, Gabe Vincent switches on him. Now Dame does what he's really supposed to do, trying to get the ball to him. However, Austin Reeves is kind of cheating as a backline defense, which leaves an open shooter in the corner for the Milwaukee Bucks. He doesn't get the basket. And if we rewind this again, when Kyle Kuzma catches the ball, there's literally 3 Lakers players in the paint, almost like a zone defense, with Giannis there, which leaves that shooter that I was talking about wide open. These are the plays where when you run it properly, it can create a lot of great offense because of how of a formidable threat Giannis is towards the basket while Dame's on the perimeter. Take a look at this play. As Giannis has the ball, all the Lakers are literally looking at him, and I love the position that Damian Lillard is in. He's on the opposite side of the ball that Giannis has it, so it's a little bit more deceptive where you're just looking at Giannis and you forget that Damian Lillard is at the back, and if you try to cheat off of Dame and literally turn your back away from him, this is what happens. Now, a good defensive team, even if Damian Lillard is behind you, you're going to always remember that, but it's a little bit more easier to get away with this instead of actually having Dame on the same side of the ball where you can still see him in your peripheral vision, or if you turn quickly, your head. The point of me showing these plays was definitely not to undermine an NBA Hall of Famer like Shaq, who knows the game. I just wanted to show evidence that Damian Lillard in the pick and roll or even off the ball can still work if done right. Which gets me into the next part of my conversation. The Bucks roster 1 through 15 is a very deep, good roster. I don't know why this is not being talked about enough. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Damian Lillard are self-explanatory. Brook Lopez can stretch the floor, inside protector when it comes to the rim. They got Kyle Kuzma, who was a good pickup when it comes to offense. I was a little bit skeptical because even though Chris Middleton had the injury history, he was still a really solid two-way player. And I was wondering if they would take a little bit of a hit not having Middleton and swapping him instead of Kuzma on the defensive side. But that said, the Milwaukee Bucks are currently second best in the NBA when it comes to opponents' field goal percentage. In other words, holding teams to a low shooting night. That statistic is not said enough when it comes to the Bucks. If we keep going down the roster very quickly before I get into the New York Knicks side of things, they got Taurean Prince, another one of their players in the starting lineup who's there for defensive purposes. Kevin Porter, who I don't know why is not talked about enough. He has been 15 to 20 point scoring throughout his career so far. Gary Trent is another instant bucket. These are guys, if you watch them play, you know what they bring, especially offensively. As I go off the bench now, Bobby Portis, when he comes from his suspension, we know how efficient he is with the minutes that he gets. Even a name like Andre Jackson, where my hoopers at who are not just obsessed with stats. This guy's averaging less than 4 points per game. There was a game in particular where I believe he was checking Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or some superstar player that could score, and he was doing a great job. I remember watching like, man, who is this guy? I never heard of him. My point with the Milwaukee Bucks, this is a tough team to face in a 7-game series. I don't care what anyone says.
Well, we never had a conversation about it. Jalen plays 35 minutes. He's in the top 20. I think he's 20th or 21st in minutes played. Cat is a primary scorer. He plays less than Jalen, so he's like 25th in the league in average minutes. Your wings play more, right? So they're matched up with primary scorers. If Jason Tatum is in the game and Jaylen Brown is in the game, OG will be in the game and Mikal will be in the game.
That was very telling from Tom Thibodeau. For those who may be unaware, he's responded to a question that was asked about Mikal Bridges when he revealed that he had a conversation, as he claims, with Tom Thibodeau, saying, hey, we got to play more of the bench. There's too many starters getting minutes. Tom Thibodeau said that conversation didn't happen. Somebody is lying or there's a huge miscommunication going on. Either way, this is not a good sign for the New York Knicks. Funny enough, when I first saw Mikal Bridges' comments without even seeing what Tom Thibodeau responded to or what he ended up saying, as you heard, I did a short on this, and you can check the date, where I was basically saying, look, the minutes when I went through the starters is heavily favored for the wing players, and that's probably because Tom Thibodeau loves defense. And then when I heard this response, it was like, yeah, that's pretty obvious. It's just a little bit strange because usually in the NBA, how it works, you would want to have your star offensive guys playing the most minutes, but it just goes to show how much Tom Thibodeau values defense, that he's willing to do the opposite. He'll actually rest his offensive guys and make the defenders stay out there more, as he said, to guard guys like Tatum or even like a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So they got guys like OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart. They got PJ Tucker recently. They have Marjon Beauchamp. That's another name many of y'all may not know. He's another wing defender who just wants to play defense. All of these guys are solid players that can make all defensive teams, with the exception of Marjon Beauchamp. He'll probably have to grow into that and get his name out there. But the other names I mentioned, PJ Tucker, OG, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, they've made a name for being elite defenders. And you got Mitchell Robinson as well, who's not a wing defender. My whole point is, with all of these names given and the coach Tom Thibodeau known for defense, the Knicks are currently 13th for NBA best when it comes to opponents' points allowed, so least points scored against them, which is not a bad thing, being 13th place. I just thought it would be a little bit higher, top 10. But here's the kicker. They are right now 24th best in the NBA when it comes to opponents' field goal percentage, which means out of all the teams, there's a lot of them that when they face the Knicks, they are shooting a higher field goal percentage against them. Speaking of teams that the Knicks face, look at the graphic that I have right here on the screen, or the graphics. The New York Knicks have an 0-2 record against the Thunder this season. They have an 0-3 record against the Celtics this season. They have an 0-2 record against the Cavaliers. The Thunder, Celtics, Cavs, these are all top teams in their respective conferences, with the Celtics and Cavaliers number 1 and 2. It's not a good sign moving forward, all right? And I don't want to make this all doom and gloom for the New York Knicks. I truly believe they could be one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, period. It wouldn't be a big surprise if I see them go in the playoffs and just really harass guys and hold them under 100 points or just a little bit over it. They have the full capabilities of doing that. However, I never saw the Knicks exactly as contenders. Number one, I don't view Jalen Brunson as a number one option that you would build a team around to go get a championship. I think he's better suited maybe as a second option. Then there was things like hearing Kendrick Perkins say OG Anunoby was the modern day Scottie Pippen. I definitely disagree with that one. The point I'm making is there was huge expectations for the Knicks that I don't believe matched really the reality of what they could be, which in my opinion was a really, really good team in the East that could for sure make the Eastern Conference Finals, but an NBA Finals appearance and even to win a championship, I did not see that happening. We'll see. I love the Karl-Anthony Towns acquisition. It was needed to help Jalen Brunson, where he could have the ball more, have another star player off the ball as opposed to Julius Randle dribbling and kind of taking turns with him and Brunson. I like that move offensively, but I think I'm gonna leave things here. Y'all let me know in the comments section how you're seeing the East outside of just the Boston Celtics and Cleveland Cavaliers. Is there some other dark horses you would want to mention? Let me know if you disagree. If you think the opposite, that New York Knicks have a better chance than the Bucks and you're not sold Milwaukee, you like New York for whatever reason, let me know. It's all good. I would love to hear different perspectives. And as always, salute for listening. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace.